Hey, welcome back to True-Moto-Resto, and on today's video we're going to continue with the KTM RC8 track bike and see if we can get the exhaust system off. This one right here. And we're going to hack off the tailpipe that's currently on there and see if we can mock up the new pipe that I want to put on. So stay tuned. So here it is. This is the contraption that's currently attached. So there are two issues that I got to solve. I'm not going to replace this. There's just no point. This bike isn't really going to go anywhere, and if it does, it's only going to go on the track again. So this is just basically a cheapy silencer. And because this thing has been crashed before on the track, which you would expect, these rivets here are kind of given out. So the whole sleeve of this thing is kind of moving around. So when I get it off, I'm gonna have to re-rivet this, try to tighten that up a little bit. And then the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hack this awful thing off the end here. And then we'll start seeing about trying to mock up the new stainless steel tip. I'm not gonna weld it myself. Except for possibly, probably, likely just kind of spot welding it in place so I know that it's going to exit out of this hole properly, and then I'll take it to somebody else with better skills than me to weld it up. Who knows? I don't know, maybe I'll have a shot at it and make a mess of it. I guess I could always take it in that way, but we'll see how it goes. So let's get this thing off. Looks like there's a clamp here, and then there's another clamp somewhere. Where's the other one? Oh, right in there. Kind of see it right in here. Right in there. So I cut off all of this wire that was holding up the muffler, and then in my parts, one of my parts bins, I found this muffler clamp. So I think what I'm going to do is make a little hanger extension that'll clamp onto that, and then it can attach right up here on this set. There's a bolt through there, so it should bolt right through. It needs to be about 6 centimeters long, and then that will be much sturdier. All right, so here's a safety tip on bench grinders. So when you're doing small pieces and you're grinding and finishing small bits that maybe might put your hand a little too close to the grinding wheel, it's a good idea to use a pair of pliers or vice grips or mole grips or whatever you call them in your particular country, because if you're holding a working piece too close, or a wrong angle maybe, or what the case is, it's quite easy for this to kind of pull the workpiece in, and what follows is usually your finger. In my case, yeah, it just kind of dragged my finger in, and this thing ground right through the nail bed. There was a lot of blood. I managed to make it back to the house before. Well, I even cleaned it myself and put the first dressing on, but it wasn't working very well, and then called my wife in to help, and she managed to get it all wrapped up before I passed out on the floor. So anyway, it's that's going to hurt for a while. Be safe out there. I don't know if I can still pull a clutch with this. Oh yeah, that's okay. It's a little bit clumsy, but it should be fine. Yep, all is not lost. I'm sure I only need this on for a few hours, then I can put a regular band-aid on it, and then it'll still fit inside my glove. So these are the little pucks that go on the side of the fuel tank. I took those off earlier, and since I covered the rear fender and the front fender in this carbon fiber wrap, I thought I'd give these a go just to see how these turn out. So this is a Vivid Plus Premium Series vinyl. I just bought it off Amazon, and all the reviews on the stuff said it was really good. So Anyway, so this is only the kind of the, I'll say the third time that I've tried this, so we'll see how it works. All I'm using is, I've got a heat gun and my craft knife here. So we'll see how this goes. And I got lots of this stuff. It came in a giant roll, so if I make a real monkey out of it, then... So first thing I'm doing, I'm just peeling it off. I'm just going to give it a bit of a warm. It just seems to be a little bit more pliable that way. I'm stretching it around and folding it over. Well, you know, it's covered, but that's just not gonna do it. All right, different technique. Let's see if this works. Saw somebody doing this on a car mirror. That is almost passable, almost. Still got to get that hole kind of punched in there, but yeah, that's. I mean, I'm getting better at it, but it's still got a ways to go. Alright, so now this thing is as solid as a rock. It doesn't move at all, which is great. So yeah, that's on there nice and tight. The only thing I have to do is this bolt is actually too long to go into this case, so I don't want to force that in. So the actual washer on here is loose. So I need to get something a little bit shorter to go in there. All right, so the inside diameter of this pipe is about, I think, about 61 millimeters, something like that. 60 millimeters. The outside diameter of this is about 63 millimeters. 60, closed up again when I pull it off. There we go. So this 3 millimeters wider. So there's the monstrosity cut off there. And so I think there's obviously a piece of the pipe left in here, so we'll move that out. And then put a couple of slots in this and see if we can get the other piece of pipe over it. Alright, so let's give this a squeeze and see what we get. Okay, so cutting the slots in this is just not going to work. It's just not allowing this thing to go over. And by the time I get it crushed in enough to put it over, it's going to restrict the flow. So I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut this completely off here. All right, so here's the mess that I've created for myself. It was hard to get my angle grinder in here to cut this off as straight and level as I would like, but there's two plans that I have to kind of enact here to get this thing the way I want it. First of all, this thing, as I showed you before, is quite loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some extra rivets in the back end of this to stiffen it up. I'll drill those. This started off good, but as you can see, there's still too much play here with this, so I got to find a different bolt to go through there, because this all needs to be nice and tight. So that's not the way I want it to be. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this off. This is the piece that came out of here when I cut this ugly tip off. So I'm going to clean that up, and then I'm going to insert this thing back inside here and inside here, and then that should give me a much more stable and stiff way to there you go, right? So if I can get that in there on both sides, then I can kind of rotate that the way I want it, and then it'll be nice and firm and much more stable and much stronger when it gets welded. So on the exhaust pipe, this is, I showed you before, the tip that's going on here, but so this end, like it's quite loose in here. So part of my objective is to tighten this up, so it just makes it easier to kind of push this on and then align things any which way that I want them to go. And right at the moment, it's just a little too loose. So I've started to try to flare the end of this out a little bit, just to make it fit a little tighter and make the process of getting the right angle and fit a little easier once I start putting it back on the bike. So I'm doing that just by basically taking this body hammer and just smacking the inside of this, flare it out a little bit. So by doing that, I'm basically hoping that I can create enough of a tight fit. So now it's getting tighter. That's what I want. So that'll make it, so now it's almost too tight. There we go. There. That's perfect. So now, once I get it on the bike, I can, if I want to rotate that, it's going to stay there. Whereas before, it was just going to be way too loose. I was going to weld it on the bike and just disconnect the battery and disconnect the ECM, the ECU, or the CDI box, whatever you want to call it, which is sitting right here. But I think I'd just be less paranoid if I take it off the bike to weld it, and I think that way there's less chances of electrical components getting buggered up. So there we go. We got it all sort of stiffened up. Some extra rivets in there. And then I put that sleeve inside there, and then that'll help to weld it. I tightened up this thing is much tighter now, and I just got this kind of temporarily reattached to see where this silencer will exit. I'm still not sure, but we're gonna fit this pan and take a quick look to see how far out of whack we are here. It does appear that I'm gonna have to trim the pan to some degree, because this no matter which way you look at it, this thing is going to be touching the pan, and we can't have that, just because otherwise it's gonna melt it, set it on fire, burn the paint, all that kind of nonsense. So yeah, more trimming, more messing, but we'll figure it out. So we're getting closer. It is actually attached in there now, if we can see in there. Everything is attached, although not quite far enough to where I want it. But we're getting there. So I think we're starting to create a little bit of a gap at the top, which is good. And then down at the bottom here, we're still kind of touching right here on this back side. So I'm going to cut a little bit more away. I'm just going to do a little bit at a time until I get it where I want it without taking too much off. And then you can see about way in there, there's a little bit of light showing there. We'll have to get welded up. But we're getting there slowly. Well, I got the pipe tip welded onto the elbow. It ain't pretty, but it's there. And now I'm just double checking the fitment here, because next thing I'm going to do is got to take the exhaust system off and then weld the whole lot together. So right now it's where I think it should be, but every time I weld this sucker or fit it, it fits slightly differently. So it's a bit of a pain in the backside. Now, she ain't pretty, but she's welded on there. I try to do my very best with this, my little MIG thing here with no gas. It's just flux core wire, and this is really my first real welding job, I would say. I welded, like a spot weld here or there. But this is the very first thing of any substance that I welded. So yeah, not pretty, but, well, what are you gonna do? That's fine. Now I just gotta hope that I've got it in the right position now, I guess. It's not coming off. Alright, so that's as good as she is gonna get. So you'll see where the black Sharpie is there. I'm gonna have to trim the pan to give it some relief here. It's just just touching. So yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how I ended up with that, but anyway, it is what it is. I guess it moved just ever so slightly, a small amount. So anyway, on the upside, it's not like sticking out a mile. On the downside, it's I got that little bit of a gap there, which I'm not super thrilled about, because that could lead to some discoloration on the paint, so I might actually be forced to put that stainless steel protector on there. So you can see, and look at the weld I laid down there. I'm not sure if that's atrocious or borderline atrocious, but it certainly isn't aesthetically pleasing, is it? Yeah, my original plan was to take this in and actually get it welded up real nice. Just spot weld it myself to hold position here and then whatever, but take it in. But, then I thought, what better place to try your skills than, a track bike. The bodywork isn't ever going to be perfect because it's fiberglass. This is just a cheap hacked together exhaust system from cheapy stuff. Nothing venture, nothing gain. You're never going to improve your skills if you don't get at it. So I did. So from that perspective, I think I made the right call. Aesthetics, well, you could argue that looks like crap, and you wouldn't be wrong. I guess if it bugs me enough, I can just take the grinder to it and smooth it off a little bit or whatever. But hey, not too bad for a first shot. Or maybe it is bad for a first shot, but it is what it is. So one of the things that was kind of occurring to me, or was a slight concern, was since I'm building or not building, but kind of refinishing a track bike, am I going to have issues with the with clearance based on this new silencer tip sticking out of here? And it's a slight, I mean, the belly pan, this is kind of I've got a straight edge here so you can see the pan swells out and it kind of cuts way back in there. So there's really not a whole lot of difference. If I move this down, the pan, it does just touch the edge there a little bit as I move it down. So I'm losing maybe 5 degrees of lean angle with that tip there, which, you know, from a purist, you take it to the track and thrash it around the track if you know what you're doing, is probably not the greatest thing. But for my purposes, I mean, even if I take it to the track, I'm not going to be getting 50 degrees of lean angle, I can tell you that. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Just going to trim that pan, and then we'll be on to other things. So thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Please be kind in the comments with respect to my crappy welding job. Thanks.